Back on Get Up, bottom of the hour. Michigan and its fans still basking in the afterglow of an overtime Rose Bowl win over Alabama. And so many eyes now on Jim Harbaugh and his future. He, of course, was asked about that right after the game and answered as only he can.
Coach, there's a lot of interest in your future. I wonder if you can tell me what the chances are that the championship game might be your last one at Michigan.
Boy, my future consists of a happy flight back to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Can't wait.
That was the most hilarious moment I've ever seen in my entire life. J.J. McCarthy is applauding like it's a political rally. Like, I'm going to cut taxes, and everyone's all excited. I mean, the bottom line, he just avoided the question, which is a perfectly reasonable question to be asked. Paul Finebaum, as you can see, gets up with us. But let me start with my NFL insider extraordinaire. The folks to whom you speak, do they expect Jim Harbaugh to be coaching in the National Football League next year?
Let me start with a little journalism lesson for my players here.
Give it to
In Journalism 101, watch what people do.
Right.
Don't listen to what they say. So Jim Harbaugh, we saw him sort of skirt the question altogether, but everybody I talked to says, now why is he hiring an agent? That agent, with those ties to some of these organizations, these players.
Explain who that
Tom
is.
Brady.
For those who don't know, Don Yee.
Don Yee, who rep Brady. Brady now is a minority owner in the Raiders, and Jim Harbaugh is going to have a lot of interest from NFL teams. And right now we have the Chargers, one of the best jobs available because of the quarterback. But don't overlook the Raiders. The fact that they have gotten this head coaching position wrong multiple times. They want to cast a wide net. They want to get a guy in there who's going to set the foundation for winning championships. And Jim Harbaugh, everywhere he's been, he wins. So everybody says, why would you hire an agent if you're just going to stick around in college? You wouldn't.
So, Paul, let me come to you on this, because Harbaugh has flirted with the National Football League very openly in each of the last two seasons, if I'm not mistaken, certainly in Minnesota for that moment. Why is it different this time around, Paul?
Well, number one, he's already accomplished what he set out to do, and that's make Michigan relevant again. 3 straight playoff appearances in the national title game is relevant. But, Greeny, that's not the real reason. He's got the NCAA around the corner, and people are saying, well, hasn't the NCAA already been there? Yeah, we know the narrative. He was suspended twice this year, 6 games. But the NCAA is looking into all of these allegations in one box. And there's a lot of speculation that Jim Harbaugh could get suspended again next year. So, Greeny, it's pretty simple. If you have a shot at 4 NFL franchises and they're coveting you, and then on the other hand, you're facing the NCAA after you've already accomplished pretty much everything you set out to do, it's a very easy answer. He is leaving Michigan after next Monday night.
I agree for all of the reasons that you've just described. Quickly, is there any question in your mind, guys? We've seen his success. His head coaching stint in the NFL wasn't long, but it was very successful with San Francisco. Any doubt that wherever he goes, he does great? What's the doubt?
The doubt is it's really hard in the NFL.
Right.
I think that he has as good a chance as any coach, and probably better than most coaches because he's done it before, he's had success before. But we're seeing Bill Belichick right now struggle to win consistently. So there is doubt. There is a chance. But I think if you get a chance to hire somebody like that, all the baggage that comes along with hiring him, you deal with because he's a great coach.
20-plus teams would beg this dude to be their coach, or should. Because I'm just going to let you know. 8 non-winning seasons at San Francisco before he walked in the door. 3 conference title games in a row. Whether you love him or hate him, the dude can coach ball. Might be crazy, might be whatever everybody else says he is, but he knows how to hire staffs. He knows how to get production. He knows how to win games. And if owners care about winning, they're going to hire him.
He also knows how to coach quarterbacks, Marcus. I mean, if you go back to his time in San Francisco, Alex Smith was a bust until Jim Harbaugh got there. Then Colin Kaepernick, at a time when there was no dual threat quarterback. Next thing you know, Jim Harbaugh makes that move, and Kaepernick is running for 200 yards in a playoff game. So he can coach quarterbacks too, Marcus. Do you believe Jim Harbaugh will have a huge next act in the NFL?
I believe he can and will, and it's because of what you just mentioned, G. All we can use is your past. And your past is success, even when you go back to the time in the league. But what P-Town, which I call Paul Finebaum, good to see you, just reiterated with Michigan. like bringing them back to prominence. You know, I was in college at a time when they was like, Michigan is never going to beat Ohio State again until Jim Harbaugh showed up and he was able to get them over the hump. He understands winning. Like there are certain coaches where they get into a place, they understand the culture, they understand what they need to do. They have a rapport with their players, maybe not the best rapport with the media or people that talk, but it's a rapport with their players that they have. And the one trait that I look at, just like we talked about AP a couple weeks ago, Antonio Pierce with the Raiders and why he should get that job, and obviously Jim Harbaugh is somebody that they would be focused on, he always seems to have the pulse of his team. And the players seem to go to bat for Jim Harbaugh every place he stops. I remember that San Francisco team. I remember talking to Patrick Willis and talking about how they loved playing for Jim Harbaugh. Winning has more to do with just how good your players are on the field. It's about how they feel when they go on the field. Not only for the dudes that's around them, but the coaches and the head coach that they're playing for. That's why Pete Carroll has success, because he has that type of rapport. That's why Nick Saban has had that type of success. So don't get it misconstrued that Jim Harbaugh cachet is not just about coaching. It's also about relationship. And it seems that his players and him, they always have a great relationship.
By saying the two legendary coaches left Pasadena in very different states of mind. And we're going to dive into why it's possible that neither one of them ever make it back there again. Harbaugh, for the obvious reason. We all think he's going to be in the NFL next year. Nick Saban, meanwhile, Paul, who is someone that you and I both have enormous respect for, is 72 years old, and the sport has changed enormously. His backups used to be better than the starters on practically any other team in America. With the way things have gone and the transfer portal and all the rest of that, how would you assess the possibility that the other night was the last time we see the legendary Saban on a stage like that?
It's possible, Greeny. Think about this. This past season is the first time since 2008 that Alabama has gone through the entire season where at no point were they ranked number one. I mean, think about that. That's just almost impossible to consider. But that's where we are. We're starting to use point of references like that. It's now been 3 years since Nick Saban won a national championship. Why is that relevant? Because that's the longest stretch he has gone in his career. He won in the COVID year, but other than that, he hasn't won a title since 2017. This is a career for Jim Harbaugh, for any other coach, but for Nick Saban, it feels like he's very close to the end. And I know a lot of people in Tuscaloosa are worried right now. Saban's back in town after the trip from California. What is he thinking about? Yes, he has. He just had a great recruiting year, but he can't stand the portal. He can't stand NIL, and you just have to wonder whether that was his swan song the other night. It very well could have been.
And I really wanted to get Marcus in on this conversation as well. For those who don't know, when Marcus earlier this morning referenced winning the national championship in college, he did it at LSU playing for Nick Saban. So you know him as well as no one knows a coach better than his players know him. What is your sense of Nick Saban, this moment, and his future, Marcus?
I think it's 2 to 3 years. I think 75 may be a line of demarcation. And the reason why I say that is because me knowing who Saban is and me knowing him personally, this is eating at him now. These losing these games and not being the national champion, it's eating at him. His competitive spirit doesn't die. Unless he's tired, it's the only reason that Nick Saban is going to leave the sidelines for Alabama. So hopefully that makes Alabama fans feel well. And think about the success. Think about this conversation that we're having right now. The man just played in the college football semifinal, and we are talking like it is a funeral. Like it's like there are teams that Florida,
and they lost in overtime.
Had the whole government. Florida had the government calling the college football playoff to just get in there. And Nick Saban was in there playing in the semifinal game, and we talking about whether it's going to end him or not. I just, look, if he retired, it would shock me. Let me say that. But I'm telling you, the one thing that this man has stood on, the one thing that has made him who he is, and I know he doesn't portray it to the public, but I've been in a lot of meetings with him. I've sat in a lot of team meetings with him. He hates losing more than winning. Yep. And this is going to fuel something in him, the fact that they are not in that conversation that Paul just talked about with being national champions.
Let me get quick stuff from Jeff.
I think everybody talks about the game has not passed him by. Think about all the changes he's seen in college football. I mean, with the NIL and the transfer portal, all that, and he still beats a team that nobody had beat in dang near 3 years, being University at the SEC Championship game.
Yep.
They go out, they lose to the #1 team in overtime after they have a 10-point lead. And their offense wasn't good all season. And he still finds ways to be competitive. This dude, he is the best college football coach probably ever. And as he continues to go, he will be able to reload. He lost coordinators again. This happens all the time. This is not new for Nick Saban. It is a difficult thing to do, a difficult job, but for some reason, he always seems to come out on top.
Paul Finebaum, let me give you a very quick final word. Go ahead.
I can't help but think of 2009, after he won his first title at the Rose Bowl. I saw him, Greeny, a week later at a Coach of the Year event. I walked up, I said, "Congratulations, Coach, it must be great." He said, "Great." He said, "I lost a week in recruiting having to go out to Pasadena." That's who Nick Saban is.